Welcome to another episode of the Save Yourself podcast. Today, we're going to do the 7-day cortisol reset for women. So, listen, if you are someone who feels exhausted or you're doing all the things right with your health, but you need to know how to control your stress hormones, this one is for you. I want to start off by thanking you. I am so grateful. Our YouTube channel has gotten to 10K subscribers. We're doing a giveaway on our newsletter. I'm so thankful for all your reviews and all the things that you've been saying about the podcast and how it's helpful. So it looks like the 7-day perimenopause reset, as well as the recent one we did, kind of the longevity episode, last episode, is one of the most popular. So you should check that out. I am so happy to announce that our September 19th retreat is completely full. We only have tickets for the Thursday night party if you're interested in coming to that September 19th in Scottsdale, Arizona. I would love to meet you. There's the full retreat is fully sold out, but there is an opportunity to come to the Thursday night event if you're still interested. I'm excited. There is where we're going to have samples of the chai protein, the chai latte, and the HHH drink. If you haven't tried any of those, you should go and check out my website. It's amymdwellness.com. I am so grateful for all of you and all the reviews that people have left, because these products are literally so delicious and they're just fun. It's not, supposed to replace the nutrition that you eat on a regular basis. It's supposed to be a fun way to get gut healthy spices like cardamom and ginger and nutmeg in a delicious way, and doesn't have as much sugar and artificial colors and flavors like your typical coffee house chai. So check that out. I'm so grateful for all of your interest. There's stick packs now, and everything's on amymdwellness.com. All right, let's get into it. This 7-day cortisol reset. So why am I giving you a 7-day reset? Don't we not believe in these short-term resets? Well, yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to tell you that most of us, including me, we are told by society that we should always be busy, that we should always be on the go, that sleep is, for when you're dead. But that's actually not true. If you want to be your best self, you want to be your most creative self, you want to grow something, you want to share something with the world, you want to be in your best shape, you want to be the best mom or the best entrepreneur, this is going to come when you actually can control your mind, your hormones. And this cortisol reset is basically meant to help you get control of this again. If you're exhausted, overwhelmed, stuck, this episode is for you. I'm going to keep it very actionable because I know that we all like to have specific steps that we can take. So I'm going to be very specific, actionable, and try to give you the best information to elevate your life. I am not doing this to sell any products. There's nothing on here that I am connected to. I'm literally giving you this information because I believe that when you do this, you will elevate your life. I have done this myself. I've done this with hundreds, if not thousands of people, this exact reset. And now I'm going to share it with you. Let's get into it. Day one. Day one, we're going to start easy. We're going to cut your caffeine intake in half. What does that mean? A typical cup of coffee has between 90 and 100 milligrams of caffeine. When you go up to about 400, and for some of us it's 300 to 400 milligrams, it starts to interfere with your sleep. It starts to really mess up your cortisol levels. So coffee always kind of raises your cortisol, and people think, oh, you shouldn't have it because it raises your cortisol. But that's okay, because cortisol is adrenaline. That's what makes us awake, and that's what makes us energetic. And our body actually kind of responds to the cortisol in a way that's positive. Okay. So a little bit of a cortisol spike is good. And when you have coffee habitually, the cortisol spike actually goes down as you have it habitually. So in a way, it's not as effective. As you know, your body starts to get used to it. You don't want to go over 3 to 4 cups a day, because that's when it does seem to, for most people, start affecting your cortisol levels. So on this day, I want you to cut it in half. So that means at most 150 to 200 milligrams of caffeine in the day. So If you're someone who has 3 or 4 cups a day, you're going to cut it to 1 to 2 cups. If you're someone who has 1 to 2 cups like me, then you're going to cut it to just 1 or not at all. You can do a decaffeinated tea or you can do a decaffeinated coffee. And that is your first step to kind of changing the impact of your cortisol on your body. So, want to start with a caffeine kind of detox. It doesn't have to be 0, and you don't want to actually go to 0 because you'll have a complete rebound with headaches. And you really don't want to put yourself in that position, but taking it down to half calf. Remember, coffee has good data. It's actually very good for you for longevity and brain health. 3 to 4 cups a day can increase your longevity. There's at least 3 large-scale studies looking at coffee drinkers and decreased mortality from between 10 to 17%. So this is a health drink, and same with tea. Tea has very similar data about improving longevity and improving brain health. Now, of course, if you're someone who's very sensitive to caffeine, and that is somewhat genetic, you have to be careful with the caffeine content. You could use a decaffeinated coffee or tea. In fact, the data shows that it may be just as good for longevity as the caffeinated kind. So for this cortisol reset, though, we're going to take it down a notch. We're going to take 50%, and we're going to do that for the next 7 days. So let's go on to day 2. Pick exercise that is rejuvenating, not depleting. So a lot of us think that we have to work out so hard that at the end of the workout, we feel stressed and tired, exhausted, and sore. That is not what you want to do on the cortisol reset. That's really not what you want to do in general. Maybe I always say that it's good to give your body a stress every once in a while. So once or twice a week, you want to do that high intensity, very stressful activity. But for this cortisol reset, we're going to hold that for about 7 days, 5 to 7 days. So this is things that make you feel rejuvenated after you do them. So it is things like yoga, walking. Walking is the best one. A sunny walk every day, maybe twice a day during this reset is something that will not only give you movement, but also keep your cortisol levels in check. This will make you feel rejuvenated instead of feeling depleted. That's how you know, you've picked the right exercise. So this can be it could be swimming. It can be a leisurely bike ride. This is the time that you're going to pick an activity that actually relaxes you, rejuvenates you, and makes you feel like more energized at the end of it instead of depleted. I think that in America, we have this feeling that we're supposed to kill ourselves in exercise, otherwise it's not even worth it. That's absolutely not true. So much of exercise is mental health. So much of exercise is getting circulation to parts of your body that don't get it. So much of exercise is strengthening that mitochondria in your cells, strengthening heart health. In fact, there was a study that looked at people who were sedentary, so people who literally did not exercise by the age of 50, okay? They don't have exercise programs in their life. They were non-exercisers. And they started them on an exercise program. And in the beginning, it was just things like walking and easy bike rides. And as they got stronger, they started to add weight training. And then as they got stronger, they started to add one bout of a sprint workout. And you won't believe it, but at the end of 2 years after this program, a slow build up over a year and a half, and then the last 6 months, they continued this process. They found that their hearts were 20 years younger than when they started. These 50-year-olds had hearts of 30-year-olds after this 2-year exercise stint. And so exercise has a miraculous effect on our longevity. And during this cortisol reset, because so much of, I wouldn't say stop exercising. That's just not something that I would ever recommend. But I would say that sometimes we will benefit from 5 to 7 days of non-strenuous exercise. So if you're not sure, just take it down a notch, 50% of what you're used to. This is going to be a great way to help your cortisol levels, improve your sleep, and help you feel less depleted. So that's day 2. Day 3. Natural calming remedies. Now, a lot of you have heard me talk about magnesium glycinate. A lot of you have heard me talk about ashwagandha, L-theanine, chamomile. But this is the day where you're going to pick a cocktail that works for you. So for example, ashwagandha for some people starts working at 250 milligrams. Others, it's 500 milligrams. Others, it's 1 gram. And so I want you to pick a few of these or one of these and start to incorporate it into your regimen to see if you can help calm that nervous system and help you really reset that cortisol. So I love magnesium, talk about it all the time. 550 milligrams of magnesium in the diet plus supplementation. So a total of 550 milligrams a day has been shown to kind of anti-age your brain, especially for women as you age. So I'm a big believer in magnesium. You can get it through foods, black beans, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, but you can also get it through supplementation. There are certain types of magnesium that are better than others in terms of absorption and what their role is in our body. So magnesium has over 300 different, or probably more, 500 different things it does in our body. But magnesium glycinate, so that is magnesium bound to glycine and it helps it get absorbed. And for women, especially women in perimenopause, this helps bring down our stress levels. It will help with sleep and it helps boost that serotonin in our brain, which is amazing. So magnesium glycinate comes in a dosage of about 200 to 300 milligrams. There's many, many different brands out there. And remember, I promised you at the beginning of this, I'm not plugging any particular brand. I'm not trying to get you to do anything and buy anything, sign up for anything. This is literally information so that you can elevate your life. And magnesium is one of those things. I get messages on a weekly basis of people saying that their life has changed dramatically just by including magnesium glycinate into their routine. I mean, there's nothing like it. And it's not, I never give a particular brand, or I just say around 200 to 300 milligrams. You should get the rest. If you want to get the 550 milligrams, try to get the rest from food, because honestly, getting your magnesium from food is probably the best way to get it. But magnesium glycinate at this time could be really helpful. So it could be magnesium glycinate. It could be ashwagandha, like I said, about 500. It depends on you. L-theanine, chamomile. These are stress relieving, cortisol reducing things. Don't take them all at once. Okay. The chamomile tea, probably you could pair up with the magnesium if you want, but you don't want to be taking all of these at once because everybody has different reactions. You want to take them one at a time so you can test yourself, see what your reaction is with each of them. For me, I often do chamomile tea, magnesium glycinate, and an ashwagandha sometimes. Now that my body's used to it, I can do all three during my cortisol reset. There is something on Amazon called Cortisol Manager. I'm not connected to it in any way, but I loved it because it comes same day, and it's something that has some of these things all in one. Instead of taking the 2 pills a day that it says on Amazon, you can do 1 a day to test yourself, and then you can increase it 2 a day. And this is something that you should do for the rest of the reset if you'd like. If you'd like to stay with just a simple chamomile tea, you can do that too. If you haven't tried the magnesium glycinate, and if you're someone who struggles with anxiety or sleep issues, perimenopausal issues, hormone issues, just give it a chance. Try it this day. This is your day to try it. And that's day 3. Let's go to day 4. Day 4, and I love this one because this is something I do all the time, just intuitively when I'm very, very stressed, is increase your sleep. Increase your sleep duration by 20 to 60 minutes this week, okay? That means that if you're someone who typically goes to sleep at 10, try going to sleep at 9:40 or 9:30, or maybe you sleep in for 20 minutes in the morning. I use that 20-minute increment because that seems to be the best way not to shift your circadian rhythm too drastically. So for example, if you're used to going to bed at 11 and then you try to go to bed at 8, it's just not going to work. And then it's not going to work in the morning because your circadian rhythms can't shift that many hours all at once. So 20 minutes at a time is what's recommended. So add 20 minutes in the evening time and maybe add 20 minutes in the waking time, meaning go to sleep 20 minutes earlier, wake up 20 minutes later. I think there's over 40% of people in the US do not get adequate sleep. I mean, with teenagers, it's even more than that. But we know that one of the best ways you can regulate your hormonal system, including your cortisol, is by getting adequate sleep. And the reason I feel so attached to sleep is that I see it in myself and everybody I work with. Like if you get the basics right, if you get the sleep, the exercise, and the nutrition right, the sky's the limit. So on this day, allow yourself some extra sleep. And for the rest of the reset, get more sleep. This is if you're someone who's in the hormonal transition of perimenopause, it's also going to help you deal with the stress of the day. So as you know, in perimenopause, or maybe not know, you're more stress sensitive, meaning things bother you that didn't bother you before. I think if you're in perimenopause, you can relate because you're screaming at people, you're getting annoyed by things that you never got annoyed by. Workouts that didn't stress you out before now stress you out. Things at work that didn't stress you out before, now it's a big deal, right? So that is when you know that maybe you need a little bit of extra sleep to help regulate that stress. Maybe you need to do the other day's worth of stuff, like, take that cortisol reset herbal remedies, do the magnesium, do the walking outside to help you regulate that stress. So if anybody is going to benefit from this cortisol reset, it's that woman between 35 and 50 plus who's in perimenopause. All right, let's go to the next day. Day 5, we're going to use nutrition to calm that cortisol. Nutrition is, as you know, the biggest needle mover in your health. You can become smarter through foods that improve nutrition, like blueberries, for example, make you instantly smarter. If you look at cognitive blood flow, and we even look at MRI studies after blueberries, for example. So it's true. Literally, foods can make you smarter. It can make you stronger. It can make you calmer. So today we're going to talk about stronger, calmer, and smarter. So the things that you want to do for today is to cut out refined sugars, okay? And you're going to cut out ultra-processed foods. Refined sugars, ultra-processed foods. So what does that even mean? It means your Oreos, your, drive-through McDonald's. It means Snickers. Ultra-processed food is any food that has ingredients that are non-food ingredients. So meaning like, even if you had every culinary ingredient in the world in your test kitchen, in your beautiful test kitchen, you could not recreate this food because it has things in it that are not food. Chemicals, additives, thickeners, that kind of thing. So as you can imagine, that's like 75% of our grocery store. So it's going to be hard, but I'll give you some examples of things you can eat today that is going to calm your stress hormones. And remember, we want calming, strengthening, and foods that make us smarter. So for example, for breakfast, you might have yogurt with blueberries and nuts. So you know that I just told you blueberries, have some boost in cognitive health within 60 minutes of having them. Yogurt has probiotics, which helps that gut-brain connection. It also has a lot of protein, especially if you have Greek yogurt. It is a great way. You can do a non-dairy yogurt if you're sensitive to dairy, but I think something probiotic in the morning that's high protein with some polyphenols like blueberries is a great way to start this day, this cortisol reset day. Lunch, I would recommend a soup that has protein and vegetables and can be really soothing. You want to keep your food intake pretty light on this day. You're really trying to give your gut a rest, give your body nourishing foods that help your stress, help your strength, help your long-term gut-brain connection, but really concentrating on decreasing that stress on your digestive system, stress on your immune system, and make it just easy for yourself. And then for dinner, you're going to have an early dinner, at least 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours before bed. And that's going to be salad with a protein. So I want like leafy greens, something with lots of fiber. You're trying to get that food for your gut bacteria and a healthy protein. So if you're a vegetarian, that might be tofu or black beans. If you're a pescatarian, that might be fish or eggs. And otherwise, it can be any kind of protein that you prefer. So that's the day. And really the big thing here is not to have any food right before bed. You want to give your gut a rest for 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. This is the best way to kind of reset your system and help with this cortisol reset. Okay, let's go to day 6. Day 6 is my favorite. I think I said that for the sleep one too, but this is literally my favorite. So, day 6 is spending more time in nature. Before I knew the data on what nature does for our brain, for our hormones, and for our gut, I thought of it as a nice to have. I thought, well, if I get time to play with my kids in the yard, that's great. But if I don't, it's fine, right? Like, I don't really understand the benefits of nature, especially what it does for our cortisol, until I really dug into the research. There are studies that show that just 10 minutes of nature time decreases your cortisol. So we know instantly when you go outside, your brain, your eyes register nature. We have special receptors that can sense when we're in nature, and that calms us, that gives us a sense of well-being. It's one of the biggest prescriptions that I give to people when they're stuck, when they're feeling tired, when they want to reset their cortisol. So day 6 is getting out in nature. I prefer 20 to 30 minutes a day because even though the studies show that at the beginning, at 10 minutes, you start to get the cortisol impact, at 20 to 30 minutes, you really get a significant impact on your cortisol levels. Nature time is something that is so easy that anyone can do. You don't have to, be in a forest. You can just walk outside where there's trees or grass. I recommend that everybody incorporate nature time in their life, but especially during this cortisol reset, because going for a nature walk, I believe, is one of the easiest ways to improve your health. If you are looking to elevate your health, decrease your stress, improve your hormones, you should be going out in nature and walking around. It can be yoga or it can be a nature walk. Those are my 2 preferred ways. Make it about 20 to 30 minutes to get the maximal impact, but as little as 10 minutes will do. I love nature. I think nature has a way to transform us in ways we don't even understand. So before I used to think of it as a nice to have, now it is a must have for me, except for days, obviously, when I'm traveling. There have been times where, I've crossed time zones and it's just not appropriate. Don't have any sunlight, but that low angle sunlight, the one in the morning and the evening, being in nature during that time has optimal benefits on your circadian rhythms, on your mood, and on your hormones. We know that people who work night shifts, unfortunately, have higher cortisol levels and have higher rates of inflammation. And so if you're someone who works night shift, and you can have a washout period, meaning you can have 1 to 2 weeks where you're not working night shift, I would highly recommend that. Getting yourself, into a routine where you can get that low angle sunlight, so meaning sunrise or sunset or both in nature, is something that will transform your life and definitely help your cortisol. So I can't believe it, but we're getting to day 7. So if you're wondering how to use this reset, I'll tell you. You can do it at any time. So if you can do 3 days or 5 days, it doesn't have to be a full 7 days. It could be 3 days of doing everything I talked about in this podcast all at once. And this is something that I do for myself from time to time. There are times where I go on a cortisol reset. And if you've ever worked with me in any capacity, you know that I often recommend it to people, especially those in high power fields, because I think it's something we don't do enough of. And when you do that, you see the benefits. It's like the body, brain, immune system, the benefits are insane. And we just don't allow that enough in our society. So I highly recommend that you do all 7 days or you do all of it in 3 days, just to get yourself back to normal, and do it a couple times a year. And it may be once a quarter, it may be once a month. It just depends on the person. I most often do it once every month or 2. I do it more than once a quarter, but I usually just do 1 or 2 or 3 days at a time so that I can get myself back. But there have been times where I've needed all 7 days. And if you're someone who is very exhausted, burned out, stressed, you may want to do all 7 days and see how you feel at the end. All right, let's get to day 7. Day 7 is something I've recently added to my routine over the last couple of years. It is heat therapy. So that's hot yoga, that's sauna, that's steam room, that's even hot baths. So Japanese hot baths at 103 degrees Fahrenheit, I think has good data behind it. Dry sauna at 167 Fahrenheit, if you can stand it, has the best benefits for brain, growth hormone, cortisol effects. There is a little bit of heat stress that happens when you're doing sauna. So you have to understand that there's a little bit of stress that happens and then a lot of relaxation that happens after that. So it's something that you can do. Hot yoga is a wonderful way to get this. The data, if you look at the data, the studies are mostly on dry sauna in the Finnish population and large scale populations. And they're looking about 15 to 20 minutes and 167 degrees Fahrenheit of dry sauna. If you have an infrared sauna, you probably have to stay in there a little bit longer. The goal is to get your core body temperature high enough that there are heat shock proteins created. So what I mean is, what people always ask me, but what about, if I stand outside in a hot day or whatever. So if you can get your core body temperature about 2 degrees higher, I think it's 2 to 3 degrees higher, then you're producing heat shock proteins. And that doesn't usually happen unless you are in a sustained heated place for, 10 minutes or so. I think, sauna therapy is very, very difficult for many people and it's not appropriate for everyone. You definitely have to check with your doctor if you're wondering, like, why am I getting so dizzy? Or is this okay to feel like this in the sauna? So start really slow. Maybe 2 to 3 minutes is where I started in the beginning. And maybe same thing with hot yoga, try a session where you're walking in and out or standing by the door and really getting yourself used to it because, like I said, it is a little bit of a stress on your body to give you kind of the relaxation at the end. So that is something that I think has great longevity benefits. There are studies that show that it boosts growth hormone up to 500%. So growth hormone, as you know, declines as we age. It is the hormone that a lot of people abuse because it helps with recovery, injury prevention. It helps you build muscle. It's kind of thought to be the fountain of youth hormone. And it goes down over time. And sauna therapy is one of the best ways to boost that growth hormone besides exercise, intermittent fasting. Those are all healthy foods. Those are all other ways to boost that growth hormone. Oh, and sleep. I love that sleep growth hormone connection too. So heat therapy is something, again, like nature, that I thought, oh, must be nice. Sit in a sauna. It must be nice for people who have time, because I thought of it as like a luxury, like it's like a massage. No, but if you look at the data, there's actually very good data that it can actually help your health in ways that we have just began to understand. So brain health, heart health, hormone health, and things, anti-aging. So sauna therapy is something that you can incorporate into your life. Start with 2 days a week and go up to 4 if you can. So that's it. We have completed the 7-day cortisol reset for women. Now, if you're not a woman and you're wondering, can I do this cortisol reset? Absolutely. The reason why I want to target it to women is that we just don't have enough things targeted to women. And not enough people are saying, well, if you're a woman, you might want to do this. And giving the nutritional advice that women might want to hear, like the magnesium glycinate. These are the things that I really want to put into the world because I truly believe that by changing your nutrition and lifestyle, you can elevate not only your health, but also the happiness in your life and the things that you can contribute to this world. And that's why I share them. These are things I truly believe that can elevate your life. So the 7-day cortisol reset is created so that you can elevate your life, live your best life for many, many, many years. I want to thank you for joining me. And until next time, it's Dr. Amy Shah, and this is the Save Yourself podcast.